Fantastic. And to find out how Star Wars became such an international hit, I spoke with Jason Moser. He's a multimedia financial services analyst, and I began and asked him about the scale of this latest movie release.
More than likely is going to be the movie event really of our lifetime, and just knowing how popular Star Wars was from back in 1977 when it really all first started. You know, it was part of Lucasfilm at that point, and they did a wonderful job of building out that franchise, making 6 movies and telling a great story that could go anywhere. And this was really, I think, the third of a number of shrewd acquisitions from Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney. You know, he was responsible for buying Pixar, and they bought Marvel, and now they bought Lucasfilm. And what they've been able to do with those properties is just tremendous. Not only growing sort of the hype about the movies that are to come, but then the spin-off movies that'll come from the characters, and let's not forget the merchandise that is just going to continue to flood the market for a long period of time.
I was going to say, no one's talking about the storyline. No one's talking about the lead actors and actresses anymore. We kind of know who the main characters are already. It's how much of it is part nostalgia. You have 40-year-olds buying toys at the toy store, okay? So this is not a normal course of the day that when you watch videos and you see all these older men, and some women too, who are obsessed with these characters. This isn't about the storyline, is it?
I think it is to a degree. I mean, you have people like me, for example, that grew up on Star Wars, and yes, it is very nostalgic. I'm excited to go see kind of where they take this story next. But then you have an entire generation, really, of kids out there that never really grew up on Star Wars. They're not familiar with the story so much. So that's why we see them inundating us with so much hype this far in advance with the movie, because I think they really do see this as an opportunity to bring in an entire new generation of Star Wars lovers.
Hasbro has the rights to sell and make a lot of these toys that are basically licensed from Disney.
Right.
How will this be the biggest ever toy distribution deal in the history of the world?
That's tough to say, and I think a lot of this really does actually depend on the movies, okay? We are going into this with the assumption that these will be good movies. Now, let's just harken back to when they actually went and did episodes 1, 2, and 3, which actually came after they did episodes 4, 5, and 6. If I haven't confused you yet.
Yeah, and this is number 7 for you guys that are watching.
This is number 7.
This is number 7.
You know, we went into that second set of movies kind of assuming they would be successful, and really, critically speaking, they weren't as widely you know, loved as the first 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I think a lot of this is going to depend on the actual movies themselves. But regardless, I think a lot of people out there are going to give it a pass regardless, because we're just excited to get Star Wars back.
It doesn't matter what the movie is. We're all going to say it was a great movie, right? It doesn't really matter.
More than likely. And even if this one isn't that good, we're going to be waiting for the next one, and then the next one, and the spin-offs that'll come.
How do we determine if the branding stuff is successful? How do they determine? They do lots of marketing, do lots of sales. I mean, it's all over the place, from online to offline to stores, big stores. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Do they judge it by how much each shopper spends, or is it by the profit margin of the toys?
Well,
or the number of toys?
It's judged by a number of different metrics. And I mean, I think that's the interesting part today is, you know, we've talked before about sort of these toy unboxing things that we're seeing on YouTube nowadays, that we didn't see anything like that before.
My daughters love watching that, and I don't understand.
Well, I don't necessarily understand it either, but I think the interesting part is, you know, when we look at how we grew up with linear television, there was no real metric. We couldn't really measure how successful advertisements or placements like this could be. And today, with mobile technology, all of these different metrics that we can measure, we can sort of see how successful they're going to be.
Why would somebody want to watch somebody else open up a present or a gift?
Well, depending on how much you actually love something, right? If you have that sort of fanatical sort of, you know, ideology that Star Wars is really where it's all at for you, then probably you are going to enjoy it, because it is a form of entertainment, right? It's just a newer form of entertainment.
Now for the billion-dollar question. You're an analyst, and oftentimes we talk about launches, how big things are, and there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of expectation. Will the reality meet the high expectations that have been set as of this hour?
That is the billion-dollar question. You're right. And honestly, I think so. And the reason why I think so is because Disney has such a great reputation of taking in these really beloved franchises and pumping new life into them. And I look back at the Muppets not too terribly long ago, and what they did with the Muppets. They really brought the Muppets back to life. And they've done the same thing. You know, they do it with Pixar. They do it with that entire catalog of Marvel characters.
What about the international perspectives. I know we focus a lot on the
Right.
U.S., but obviously there are huge fans in Europe. There are huge fans in Asia as well. The last time a movie came out was almost 10 years ago,
Sure.
so the world is a very different place now. Does that change anything, the international environment we're in?
I think it's even a greater opportunity today internationally than ever before because really thanks to technology, thanks to the internet, the world is a smaller place than ever before. It's easier to reach all four corners of the globe and tap a much larger consumer base than they could have back when Star Wars started in 1977.